Hey everyone, my name is Cory Marks, and I got a brand new album out called Sorry for Nothing, available everywhere. And I'm here talking with Chris.
Beautiful, Corey. Thanks for joining us today, mate.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Oh, pleasure. So, as you say, you released your third studio album, Sorry for Nothing, just last week, bro. So, how's the early reception been for it?
Honestly, I think it's been great so far, and not only in North America, but of course down under and all over the globe. So it's been I'm really happy to hear that and see that. So it's been a project I've been waiting to release and working on for the last 4 years. So to finally have it out, it's nice. Now it's up to the world to see how they acknowledge it, and hopefully they love it.
In the modern age of music, mate, like, how do you gauge the success of an album? Like, is it feedback? Is it sales? Is it Spotify? Like, there's so much going on. It's hard to sort of tell, isn't it?
Honestly, I have no idea because there's somewhere. I mean, you look at Spotify numbers and streams on certain songs or albums, and you can feel like it's really doing well, or you can see it in a chart position, and but things may not still be happening, like tours or something, isn't happening. But you can see comments on your social media of people all over the world, all over the globe, and loving it, especially in certain areas. And to me, it's all about the fans. So if the fans are loving it, keep playing it, keep sharing it, requesting it at radio, and get me to wherever you are.
That's sensational. So, can you tell us a bit more about Sorry for Nothing from a musical point of view and what you're going for with it?
Well, yeah, I've always kind of stayed true. Well, I've always stayed true to who I am and what I believe in and what I enjoy doing. As you know, I'm country, I'm rock, and I'm a little bit of metal. And in this record, you have songs that I've written about a year ago, all the way to songs like "Late Night of Drinking Again," where that was maybe 7 or 8 years ago. So it's a little it's 13 songs of that I think represent me the best right now. Where I've what I've been through, where I've been, and how far I've come, and where I plan on continuing to go and continue to do, and hence the album title. Sorry for nothing.
I was going to say that the album title is sort of, it's a statement of sorts, isn't it? It's a powerful statement.
Well, I think I think I've obviously been known to keep outside of that. Um, I guess industry box where they try to force you to look, sound, and act a certain way. And I think it's our job as artists to create the art that we know and we live. And that's what I write about. I write about what I know and what I've been through and what I've lived. And I know that it's very a lot of people can connect to that, whether it's love loss or pain or growth or a Saturday night out on the town with the boys.
And as you said before, bro, like the album is a subtle blending of arena rock, there's roots country, there's a bit of metal in there. So in the writing process and recording this, like, how did you find the balance between those genres?
Well, I've written so much. I mean, these 13 songs are handpicked by out of probably close to 100 songs that I wrote over the last, four or so years. And I think, with me, when I make a record, I want it to be very much like my live show. So, when you see me live, you're going to hear some Pantera, you're going to hear maybe some Ozzy, you're going to hear some Merle, and of course, some cool medleys in between my songs. But this record specifically, and like just like the last one, we want to start off with a bang and take you for a ride where it's big and heavy at the start. You can sing along, a little bit further in, bring it back down to where it all started, where it's acoustic, me and a song and the fans, and then we bring you right back up and end with a bang. So that's kind of that's how I try to make my albums, and I think that's what we've done with this one here. You can almost envision what it'd be like to see me live.
And fans of all of those genres you mentioned, they're pretty judgmental, mate. So, but was it a risk at all, sort of trying to fit somewhere in the middle? Like, we get a bit of backlash from different ones?
I always get backlash, but again, they just need to read the title of the album and and realize who I am and what I'm doing. I'm just I'm just an artist writing songs and stories that I've lived and that I love, based on the music I grew up on, and that's anywhere from Jimmy Rogers, Merle Haggard, Waylon Jennings to Ozzy Osbourne, Pantera, and Bryan Adams. It's a mix of a little bit of everything, and like I've said before, what you see is what you get, and you can expect it live too.
You now, I want to talk about one song in particular, which is "Make My Country Rock." Like, That's an interesting play on words. Like you could take that a couple of different ways. Like was it written like that, or did you sort of write it and look at the title and go, "I'm pretty clever"?
It was actually at first called um it was just called country rock, but the label thought it was a little too generic. It was a little too whatnot. So there's I said, well, why don't we just go with the hook? I'm gonna make my country rock. And it could really go both ways. I looked at it as in the genre of music itself, making my country music rock. But also, like you said, there's going to be critics and people. Well, that's not rock or that's not country. Um, so I'm going to stir things up a little bit, as I typically always do for whichever reason. If you don't stick between the lines, and I make my country rock.
On ya. And they also feature a few guest artists on the album, including Sully Erna from Godsmack, DL from Bad Wolves, Mick Mars, and Travis Tritt. So tell us about the songs that they're on and why you wanted those particular artists.
Well, I think Guilty, I wrote that one with the same guys I wrote Make My Country Rock with, but added to that was Kyle Odell, and he's a great guitar player and producer on the hard rock side. And just the musicality I thought was, the musical aspect of Guilty and getting to know DL a little bit, being friends with some of the guys in Bad Wolves, I thought, and we're on the same label. It was just kind of a perfect fit when his name came up, and I heard he wanted to do it and loved the song. I thought, well, let's just let him do his thing. He's a talented dude, great vocalist and singer, and um, I just thought he did a great job with that. And then we had a great phone call after, kind of reflecting on the lyrics and how we feel very similar about, if living my life is a crime, then I'm guilty. So there was that. Make My Country Rock. When I first wrote it, I was in Nashville, and I was supposed to go to Mick's house, and we'd scheduled to hang out. So sure enough, I was over at Mick's house, and I was actually one of the first people to hear his new album, his Mars album. And he asked me, do you have any demos that you wrote? I said, well, actually, a couple of days ago, I wrote this song, and you want to hear it? Of course, he wanted to hear it. So we played it in the studio, and sure enough, I had to ask, hey, would you mind throwing some guitar on it for me? And he said, hell yeah, man, this thing kicks ass. This is what I like to hear. Give me about a week, and I'll throw some guitar on it. So once I knew I had Mick, I thought to myself, well, let's do because by the time this song comes out, it's probably going to be around 5 years of Outlaws and Outsiders. So I thought, I'm not going to ask anybody else but the Outlaws boys first. And Travis Tritt, when I sent them the song, called me up when I was on tour up here in Canada, and with a Georgian accent, he says, well, the last song did pretty good now, didn't it? So why don't we do this again? And I said, hell yeah. So I had Travis and I had Mick, and then Ivan was on the other side of the world touring in Germany, and it was crazy. They're out with Metallica, and there's a lot's going on, and so I understood if he couldn't do it. So we wanted another rock vocalist on it. And there's a few names that were thrown around, but when I heard Sully Erna, I thought to myself, man, I grew up, on Godsmack. Being a hockey player, a lot of the guys in the hockey room would be playing Godsmack, and as a drummer myself, I remember seeing him, doing that drum off battle during his live show, and us both being songwriters and vocalists, but also doing the drum solo live. We're both Rush fans too, so I thought, man, if Sully Erna could do this, this would be he'd be the guy, man. Especially when you hear that "Make My Country Rock." And it was about a week later. I thought, that was my guy. That's what I wanted out of the list that was there. And sure enough, I get a text from maybe Sully Erna, a big, beautiful text thanking me for having him on the song, and how much he liked the track and thought it was going to be great for me. And that he might even love the song more than I do. So that was really special. And that's the story behind Make My Country Rock.
That's fucking cool, bro. Now you mentioned Outlaws and Outsiders before, like that was off your previous album, Who I Am, and it was a massive success. So did that put any extra pressure on you going into Sorry for Nothing? The fact that one was so big?
I mean, obviously, especially when so much time has passed, and you've kind of really, with that song, really created this lane for other artists to do, that whole, like, country and rock was starting to kind of jive together after that hit. And you're seeing a lot more of it now. So, once, in the writing process, I write from straight from the heart, and what I believe and what I live. But when you put a record together, you can only hope it's going to be just as good as your debut album, if not better. So I'm, Obviously there's that pressure on me, but I can't control it. It's out of my hands. I just know that I think I put together a kick-ass record that's beautiful and rocking on both the country and rock side and everything in between. And I hope the critics and the listeners will feel the same way, that are just going to go into this album with an open mind and love the shit out of it.
Yeah. Now, speaking of your debut album, mate, like you started your career with this man in 2015. So, what was your early vision for your music, I guess, and where did you fit in back then?
I didn't fit in back then either, believe it or not. And it was still either a little too rock for country, especially up here in Canada, because I still deal with that. Or you're just not in the clique, you're not whatever it is, you don't fit into that specific circle of artists that you hear time and time over and over again on radio. And it seems like it doesn't matter the streams or the global success. It's just kind of they're kind of stuck in their ways. So even then, I mean, I felt that way, and hence why I came up with the song "Outlaws and Outsiders," or at least the title and idea. But I've always wanted to be like a little different, a little outside the box. And again, I come from that background of real country music, from Haggard to that hard rock like Ozzy Osbourne and Bryan Adams, and I've always just kind of wanted to be a mix of those artists. But ultimately, when you start working with a guy like Kevin Churko, he's a producer that could take a good song and make it great and even better. And I know that's what he's done with anything we put out together, and especially a song like Outlaws and Outsiders.
That's nearly 10 years you've been going now, bro. So, what have you learned about yourself and your music in that period?
I've known that I've learned that I think I'm a lot more patient than I feel like I am. I think I've also learned that, you know, more and more now than ever, that I think the important thing is not to just, create something for what you think is going to fit the industry, or, again, I'll talk about that box, but do it for you and the fans, and try to write your own story, and if you have to, pave your own lane. And it's but in doing that, it's going to be a lot harder, to try to chart and try to get, accepted, so to speak. And you're going to be alone for a little while until, you started a wave that they just can't stop. And I'm hoping that I'm going to continue that and do just that with this record, Sorry for Nothing, and the singles that are on there. But it's a long road, and one thing I've learned, that it's not, there's no really overnight success, unless it's paid for, or you win some fancy competition. So, but for me, it's all about longevity, and hoping I can have, that career for this career, and even more, and much 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 bigger, for years to come.
When? How about live shows, bro? What do you got coming up?
Well, we just announced a European tour. So I think it's looking like about a dozen shows at this point, between Germany, Netherlands, Paris, the UK, and now Scotland being added. And still booking. We just announced a tour, a mini tour of Quebec, Canada, which is a great province up here. And there's going to be shows being announced. We're working on a few US tours as well, but it's been a bucket list of mine since 2019 to make my way down under and play for everybody in Australia. So I'm really hoping that 2025 is going to be the year, especially the way radio has been treating me down there, and the media has just been incredible, and I'm so thankful for the support and the fans and everybody down in Australia. So I really hope that 2025 is the year, that I come down under to Australia.
Fantastic, Corey. Now, before I let you go, mate, we've got a new segment we've started called Photo Bomb, which basically means that I've trolled through your social media and I've come up with some photos that I want to know a bit more about. All right, so this one.
Feel like Santa's going to pop up for some reason.
That one, bro. Like, I just want to know whose idea was it to put you on a beach in black jeans and a black long sleeve shirt, and are they still working for you?
But well, they did work for me that day. No, but that was actually on the video shoot for Sorry for Nothing in Long Island, Lido Beach, just outside of New York. And That's the film team there that shot the music video for Sorry for Nothing, and the gentleman in the cutoff and the black hats, my tour manager and cinematographer. So this was one of those really cool key parts of we did a lot of it was a lot of cool shots that we got from this beach, and it was actually quite beautiful because you don't think there's a beach quite like that in New York, but there certainly was, and it was a cool spot.
You tempted to wear shorts and a t-shirt, mate. You look like you were going to be pretty bloody hot.
You know what? It was pretty cool. It was quite windy, and New York has is fairly close to where I am in Ontario, Canada, or Toronto. So I was just fine.
Cool. And I've found this one as well. All right, so this is you've got this one now. So
Yeah.
quite a lot of photos have got you connected with the crowd. So has it ever gone pear-shaped and someone's tried to drag you in or you got mauled?
Oh, I've definitely actually in this photo, I think there were some people that tried to pull me, but um, I like to think my time in the gym kept me up on that stage. But this was on tour with Five Finger Death Punch and Brantley Gilbert. Um, I believe this was Amalie Arena in Florida, where the Tampa Bay Lightning play. Although there was a lot of these arenas this packed and this full, which is pretty awesome for the opener like myself on this tour. Um, but as you can see, there's that tribute to Rush on my tricep there. One of probably my I think it's my most recent tattoo, but it's a tribute to Neil Peart. It's got the 2112 bass drum like he had on his tour, and it says "Time stands still," and freeze this moment a little bit longer. And now looking at this picture, it's like wow, what I'd give to get back to playing arenas and being in front of thousands of people like this.
And check out that security guard, mate. He's looking at you with a bit of love in his eyes, I think.
Yeah, I think he's just making sure he's like, what's this guy up to? Because I end up running back and forth a little bit crazy, and it depends on the crowd and it depends on the stage, but you never know what I'm gonna do.
And you mentioned you played with Five Finger Death Punch that night. Like, how did their crowd accept you, mate? Did it go over right?
You know what? I think overall, I mean, here's a perfect shot of that. If they accepted me or not, it was they were loud every night, and it was pretty exceptional. I remember Ivan Moody, the singer of Five Finger, and Brantley. They were actually quite surprised by the amount of people every show. And some team members came to some of the shows. I think one was in Nashville, and they thought to themselves too. They told me after that, normally for a 6:30 or 7 o'clock start for the opener for these big bands, knowing they're not coming on till 10 o'clock, you don't normally see the pit that full, and that's one thing that I was grateful for. The pit was very full, and so were the seats for the most part, and they just kept filling up once we started.
And I've got this last final one, mate. Like, for anyone that says you're not rock or metal enough, mate, I want them to check out this photo. That just proves it, mate. You've got what it takes.
Well, dude, thank you, Chris. That is when I do that and I find cameras for me. That just makes me think of Holy Diver. That's something Ronnie James Dio would do right there.
It does indeed, bro. Mate, well, thanks very much for your time, Corey. It's been an absolute pleasure speaking with you, brother. The album, Sorry for Nothing, is out now, and it's a cracker of an album, mate. I really enjoyed listening to it. So hopefully we see you
Oh, thank you.
sooner rather than later.
Thank you, Chris. I appreciate your time. Glad we were able to make this happen. And yes, I pray that 2025 is the year that Cory Marks comes down to Australia and plays live for everybody. And Merry Christmas to you and your family. All the best in 2025, and look forward to seeing you.